Hey, hello.
Hello.
Hi.
We finally got our act together. We're here.
Oh, 3 minutes late. They know me. It's all good. It's all good. Hi everybody. Good to see you. So,
Welcome.
yeah, if anyone doesn't know my husband, my better half, anyone who has seen him on my stream likes him better anyways. So here he
No,
is.
no.
And Duncan's going rogue. He's the most conservative person I know. But he's gonna be
Yeah, I'm going to tackle
schooling
something
us.
interesting today. And I have this disclaimer like they put on like NPR when they're having somebody controversial on there. They say the views that are expressed by this guest don't necessarily reflect the management of the owner of the channel. Da da da. So
The controversial crochet lady.
that's right. I
I've
know it's
been
just bringing on rogue people. So
No, I am a rogue, but I'm a harlot and a Jezebel. Speaking of, my partner in crime, coercion and control with Ashley Love Richards. Hey, sweetheart. Yeah, so we're doing it. We're just gonna, talk about
yeah, we're
all the
gonna
things.
open the bag here and
All the
see what's in
things.
it.
Hey, love it. Great. Glad you made it. All right.
Cool.
Let's see what else
Glad
we
you're here.
got. Um, Yvonne. Hey, Yvonne. Good to see you. All right. This is going to be fun, I think. Hey, poet. Welcome,
Hello.
poet.
Love it. Very cool.
Oh, there she
Poet.
is. It's a girl. Did you get any sleep, Kelly? She was up at what, 4:30
Hi,
in the morning?
Kelly.
Well, you were sleeping, honey.
Yeah, I don't
Probably
know how
when
you
I was
guys
on
are
with
doing it. I'm
we're
slowing
like
down with this. I can't be up all
pumped.
night.
We're pumped. Hey, Faye. Hey, good to see you. Ash said, "My man is cute. He wants to talk about diving disasters." Okay,
Yeah, there's
well,
been some NDEs as a result of that.
maybe get them on together.
Hmm.
That'd be fun.
Hmm.
All right. Oh, hey, Pup Groomer. Good to see you.
Hello,
Hello, hello.
everybody.
So, someone said, "Yeah, I love when the partners get in on it." Yeah, because if he didn't, I would feel really bad because I'm like in this, what
You're
am
in
I
the thick
in?
of
The thick of it.
SPTV world and
Yeah, and
YouTube world.
he doesn't mind. Someone said, I can't find it now, about the background on the thumbnail. And Duncan is also well, I won't call you amateur, just freelance photographer.
Yeah, I
You do a
actually
lot of
love.
stuff.
I've started to make a thing out of it because I'm deliberately trying to document. Like I'm an avid outdoors person, mostly hiking and skiing and that kind of thing. So I kind of decided to make. I mean, I've always loved photography, but I've never really given it a real shot. So now I'm trying to actually document the hikes and different events that I get involved in, and I put it on Facebook as a way to make a record of it. But I figure some people actually enjoy seeing some of this material. So anyway, those pictures are out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've made calendars and cards and things for friends and stuff with your scenery, which is awesome. So Pup Groomer said, I woke up to some exciting YouTube analytics. Yeah,
Ah,
we've just been
cool.
burning the candle at both ends because everybody's making channels, and I'm excited that your channel's going. That's awesome. Yeah, Pup Groomer has a channel now.
Oh,
So
very cool. Very
yeah,
cool.
so everybody subscribe to that. And yeah, so we've been talking. Duncan's been talking about in little what bites, little morsels of this NDE thing, and I've been kind of like, I've been a little bit skeptical about it, but he's really been kind of delving into it and studying about it. We're not trying to convert anyone into the NDE, you know, cult or anything. If there is a cult, I guess anything could become one. Even culture, like not necessarily destructive, but there are people that have taken it a little bit too extreme. But Dunk's very, I'd say you're very, like I said, conservative, but you also are very analytical and scientific. So you've been doing a lot of delving into
Oh, we
it.
got a
And
couple of NDEs in here. This is good. I'm
oh,
actually
okay,
glad to
all
hear
right,
there's people
yeah,
in
because
here
neither of us have had
because
one.
I have not had one myself, but over the years, I mean, if I could jump in, I'm going to maybe chat with it for a few minutes at a time and let some people throw back some feedback, because I have, well, going back in probably the 70s or 80s, I read Ray Moody's book, Life After Life. I think it's Life After Life. One's Life After Death. But anyway, it was intriguing to me at the time, but of course, I didn't give it any serious consideration other than like, this is really interesting. And one reason I got involved, and I think a lot of us got involved in either cults or religions, some were born in, some are never ins, but I was always a seeker. And I won't give my whole backstory now, that would tie up too much time, but I will say this: I've been kind of always seeking and trying to figure out what's going on, what life's about and everything, like most of us. And somehow over the last few years, because we got out of the organized religion, church, and the cults that we were in, I feel like breaking out of that religious box kind of opened the door where I was able to consider other things than just what religion teaches. And the NDE thing has been utterly mind-blowing. And I'll try to keep this into the kind of the 101 NDE thing, because it is a stretch to believe a lot of this stuff until you've heard enough of it. Like, in other words, I'm exploring this. I've probably watched, and these are videos, I've sort of filtered through YouTube and tried to find a couple of the channels that really deliver direct first person accounts through videos where it's the person, it's not a robot or a chat GPT thing, actual normal, ordinary people that most of the time it was a traumatic accident or a heart attack or some other thing that caused them to pass out of this life briefly, but they came back. And what they report is absolutely amazing. And I'll say this as a quote, I don't know where I got this, but somebody was saying, well, if you hear one or two accounts of something that seems out there, that's just anecdotal. Doesn't add up to anything that's scientific. And I have always been myself a sort of a skeptic, and I try to think that I go with the scientific method on things. So when I got watching this stuff, I think the thing that started me recently was there was a Netflix documentary series on life after life of something like that sort. And there was an account when one woman, she'd made basically a video of this, and she'd had a kayaking accident somewhere in another country, in like Chile or someplace, and went off a waterfall or something and got killed, and basically had a NDE. And people that come back from these really recall everything in extreme vivid detail. So she gave an account of this, and then this documentary series kind of went off the rails for me because it got into seances and spiritisms and mediums, and I realized there's a lot of truth in a lot of that stuff too, but that's kind of less direct. Like, for me, I want to hear direct accounts from regular people that said, hey, this actually happened to me, and here's the detail. So anyway, I've probably over the last 2 or 3 months listened to between 60 and 70 of these accounts, watched them on videos, and probably 90% of them I consider very credible. So the point I was going to make about like anecdotal, if it was one or two people haven't been willing to talk about these things in a lot of cases because they were just shouted down, or people just looked at them in disbelief. Doctors told them it couldn't happen, da, 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 da. But after listening to 70 or 80 of these accounts that are all very similar, they're not always the same, but they're very similar. It's like, when you have that many stories, that's data, that's stuff that's in the realm of scientific. And now it's like, okay, it's still very, very hard to prove anything that's supernatural, because it's basically experiences people had out of the body. So how do you prove that? And actually, there is some things that have made it almost provable, and I'll get into that later. But anyway, so that's where I'm going with this. I've been searching, and I feel like there's something else. Still is a truth. Like, most of us have come out of churches or cults or weird organizations where we were misled terribly. And even, I'll throw this out there, the NDEs make it very clear that on the other side, religion has really messed things up and given people a lot of false information and bad ideas that don't cut it
So
against
they've
what these
said
people
like there's no
report.
judgment or hell or any of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Well, what I find
I can subscribe to
fascinating,
that, but like I said, I'm very skeptical about it. I mean, I've heard some other theories that it's just like the neurons in your brain or whatever. Like,
Yeah, so that's the
yeah.
biggest argument I've heard. The big argument is, well, when the body's breaking down, it's producing all these hallucinations. But you know what's amazing? These hallucinations are so consistent and detailed and vivid. They're beyond what, if somebody just was rotting away or dying or their brain was going out, it would not produce this stuff. And it's just like you couldn't make this stuff up. Honestly, these stories, you couldn't even make them up. So that's the one hand of it. And
Can can we? I'm sorry, honey,
oh,
to
sure, yeah,
interrupt you. I just
we'll
got
jump out.
some
Yeah,
good
I
stuff.
don't want to ignore
Just
anybody because I know there's some really good stuff
yeah,
coming
just
up
for
in here. So
context,
it's hard for me not to get caught up
because
in
you're
it.
talking about like no judgment. Ash wants to know: is there supposed to be a heaven type place?
Yes, and what has happened. So I'll sort of detail what happens in a typical NDE experience that people report is that so they have a terrible accident or something, and their body is being destroyed, and then all of a sudden, what's typically happened, like you see people laying there in agony and pain and everything, and that's there, and then all of a sudden these people will say, "Holy crap!" Within the next second, I suddenly realize I'm looking at people working on, and they don't even know it's their body. Sometimes some of these people will say, "Oh my God, I just suddenly realized I was looking down and I'm watching these people work on a body," and I'm thinking, "Who is that?" And then they begin to realize at some point that it's their body and they're not in it. They don't feel any pain. And being not in a body is very bizarre because they'll see 360 degrees. All of a sudden, they can see all around them. There's nothing to interfere with their seeing, and they're not limited to their body. So they'll see in 360 degrees looking down. They'll watch. And this is one of the things that's proof to me that this is real is a lot of these reports, people are looking down at their body, watching the surgeons operating, watching people giving them CPR and all this stuff. And then next thing you know, they're floating through other parts of the hospital. They're overhearing the doctors talking. And here's another thing about NDEs. Time is a construct. Like we watch a clock ticking. Well, in the old days, you watch the hands of the clock going around. The time is based on things moving, like the sun or the earth around the sun and things like that. So we have clocks we use. But when you're on the other side, these people will experience what seems like things that take hours or days or weeks. And when they get back in their body later, no time has elapsed. Like literally seconds have elapsed, minutes have elapsed. And they try to explain what went on. These people look at them like, you lost it, you're nuts. And they can detail exactly what happened, what was said, who was doing what, where, and when. And even if they traveled outside of the immediate area, they'll give accounts of things that happened while they're supposedly dead. They couldn't possibly have seen or experienced because they're dead. And in some cases, way outside of the area that they're in. So these accounts become very credible. To me, that's like they're giving information back they couldn't possibly have found out in any other way
So
other than
what's
having been there.
sorry?
So
If you take
okay,
a
go
breath, so I
ahead.
can
I
ask the
know I'm
question.
getting caught up.
Well,
Yeah.
about the heavens question.
Okay, so let me answer
Yeah,
that.
that was the question.
Okay, so
Sorry, we know we've been married 26 years, so I interrupted.
yeah,
it's
it's
like I'm not
fine.
trying to be rude. I mean, if I was interviewing any of you guys, I'd just be like, "Excuse me," and I'm like, "Hey, listen, there's a
Yeah.
question there."
Yeah, we've been together long enough. If we haven't been separated by the shit we've gone through by now,
Right?
we probably won't be.
He puts up with me.
And she puts up with me too, so it's a fair deal.
Oh God.
But so the heaven question is fascinating because so I'll continue really quickly through a typical NDE experience. So somebody's out of their body, they realize it's them, they realize they're technically dead, and then a lot of them will experience a light, and sometimes it's the tunnel thing where they see a light through a tunnel and they enter into a tunnel and it looks like a wormhole type thing in Star Trek. A lot of these what they illustrate it like, but they say it's very hard to describe what they've gone through and what they're going through. For one reason, there's no words to describe the half of it, and so they come out of their body. Very often there's a light, and they will actually report back that they encounter, a lot of them encounter past relatives, even pets. I mean, this gets extreme, so tighten your seatbelt.
I want to see my pets.
Yeah, no, people actually have given accounts of seeing their pets. I mean, in a weird, bizarre way. You go to the other side, time is no longer a thing. It's almost like it's the present moment all the time, and yet you have access to the past and the future in some cases. So that's a thing. The other thing is all the communication is telepathic. So you are communicating and you don't have a body. You're not producing words. You're not producing sound because it's impossible.
I think I saw that on Star Trek.
Yeah. So when you're not
You're
in a
like, yeah.
physical body, how are you going to produce sound? You don't have the
I'm sorry, I
means.
don't mean to mock you,
So
honey.
it's everything is energy. I mean, this is bizarre. I mean, I've been watching these so long now, it's become normal. This is my normal to think this way, but everything is energy. So you encounter beings there in a form of energy. And in a lot of cases, it's a form of light. So light exists, but in spectrums that are beyond what we can see, because our bodies are limiting us. We can only see in a certain spectrum. We can only hear in a certain spectrum. So people report back that there's music that is way beyond what we can hear here, because you're not limited by the body. Same thing with what you see. And okay, more mind blowing. So these people report back that everything is essentially one. And the whole idea of God, like we're isolated and separated and have our individuality here, in a sense, you still have individuality there, which is something I never wanted to give up. I always hated when people would postulate these ideas like you just dissolve into oblivion, basically nothingness, and you're part of something. I don't like the idea. That basically is non-existence. I could never accept that idea of non-existence. Why would we be an individual only to be dissolved into nothing?
So
You
I
know?
mean, I always known you a pretty like skeptical person. I mean, after we abandoned the call, of course, that was like
Mm.
we had pretty much spent 16 years, like giving up any critical thinking. But then like we stopped going to any churches or anything. And then like what is the well, first of all, let me just read some of these because they're gonna
Okay.
pile up because people are really
Okay.
active.
Sorry.
Let's read some of these
I'm
comments
trying
and
to
then I've
answer the
got some
question, but there's
questions.
so much to say
Yeah,
that
and if you guys have any
sidetracking. I'm
questions.
sidetracking myself.
Okay, so let
Mm.
me go to start. Because some
Mm.
people want to share their experiences,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
because you
No, I'm.
haven't had one, I haven't had
Yeah.
one,
True. No,
so
I know
we're
people have, and
just
they know it far better than me. I'm a believer in this, but I haven't personally experienced it. So
and
those that have, I'd
I'm
love to
not a
interview
well,
or
I'm not
talk
saying
to.
I'll never be. I'm just saying
I
like
don't want to go through an NDE. I would rather
I don't
learn
really
this on this side if I can.
right. I don't know. I'm just kind of comfy right now, not believing in anything, but I figure he wanted to talk about it, and I'm just letting you all. I'm not letting you all. I'm begging you
Hmm.
all to go along with this, adventure with us
Yeah.
because
Oh,
I
I'll
told
jump
them
on
I
one
would
of
let
these
them. Okay,
questions.
which one? Click on it, babe.
I'm just saying Bobby Ballinger.
The first one.
Down a few. Is that one? Oh, that's one too.
All right, we'll read both of hers.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll take
Okay,
those
you
on.
read it because I'm
Okay.
blind.
So we have, hey Marilyn, this was a big reason I came back, knowing religion is man-made and not what heaven is about. That's absolutely true. There have been people. In fact, I just watched one this morning of a guy that got killed in a chainsaw accident, and yeah, which is pretty bad. But he basically said that he was brought up a really staunch Catholic family, and he said, and this is totally consistent with typical NDE experiences. He said that what he realized was when he went to the other side, God is the Bible says God's love. The Bible's not necessarily all wrong. It's got a lot of mistakes in it, but the fact is God is love. So he was unconditionally accepted exactly the way he was, with no judgment and no hell or any of this stuff. It's just God is pure love. And I'm using the word God loosely because it includes the force, or whatever you want to say, that is basically the creative force that's love. And he testified that, yeah, his understanding he came away with was that love is the creative force, and the intensity of the love that people have experienced on the other side is so great that what a lot of people go through is called a life review. You've probably heard of that, where you go back and look over your life. And I always thought, well, this is getting kind of carried away. How could God have time, or what kind of supercomputer would he use to have recorded and be able to review everybody's life, every detail? It seemed impossible to me. I kind of threw that overboard. Well, the fact is, a lot of the characteristics of this so-called God is that we're all one. We're all part of something, where the communication and connection there is so intense. Like, these people would go through a life review with, in some cases, a guide of some sort, or a past relative, or basically God in some form.
That's
And
scary.
what it is, but it's beautiful in a weird way. Here's the scary part: is during the
Great. There's
life
more scary.
review. Okay, so the life review was not condemning and not judging. It was simply being able, and here's another thing I'll throw out there. I've always felt like the ultimate justice for anybody would be to have to experience what the other person in their life, anyone they acted on, good or bad, what it was like from their perspective. I felt like, well, that would straighten a person out. What if you saw the effects you had on other people directly? Well, guess what? That's exactly how it works. These people report back that they get to see and experience things from the other side, from what the other person went through, and they'll go through their life. And
So if you abused children or R-worded people, or was
you
just like
become, you
if you were
essentially,
Jeffrey Dahmer or
yeah,
something.
you become your victims in a sense. You experience exactly what they did, and you become them in a sense, and see everything from their perspective, whether you did good or bad. So the takeaway from that for me was like, this is mind blowing. It's like, it makes you so grateful for the fact that you've basically been forgiven. Like, the thing is, there's not a condemnation and judgment element to it that we would expect. It's more like you simply get to see it. And, if you're an empath, you already, like, I'm an empath. I consider myself an empath. I can feel a lot of times what other people are, I mean, I don't think I'm just projecting, but I really do feel other people's pain sometimes. And I can see it from their side.
You do.
And this is to
Even
an
more so than
extreme.
me. Yeah.
So you see and feel, well, if you already have that in you, then you do unto others as you'd have them do unto you, because that's a very valid takeaway from it, is the idea that how you act on other people is you're essentially acting on yourself. The whole idea that we're one is we're seeing this stuff as it happens to other people, and good or bad. So if you do something really good, like a lot of these people would report in the life review that they would be shown things they did that were really good that affected people, even little tiny things that turned somebody else's life in a better direction, and the bad things they did, but there's not condemnation. What happens is the love that they experience being forgiven for all this crap makes them want to be better people and do better. So the takeaway is that a lot of the people that had these NDEs come back and their priorities are completely rearranged. And I feel like I've been going through that in a way without having gone through one, just knowing what other people have gone through. I'm like, no kidding. You want to be a nicer person. You want to do better. You want to help people. Materialism and amassing money and all this type of stuff, power, all the ego stuff drops out. And the way this one guy described ego is sort of like the separated man that thinks he's independent and in competition with everything and everybody, versus somebody that's feels like they are like an empath. You are the other guy. You see yourself as the other guy. What you do to somebody else, you're doing to yourself essentially. So that's the takeaway from that.
All right, I have some more started, but
Okay,
I'm just looking
I'll
for
shut
more
up for a
started.
second and let you. I'll have coffee.
Okay, yeah,
I know I'm getting
no
on
more
a roll
coffee
here.
for you.
I
No,
know.
you're doing
I
good,
don't
honey.
need the coffee. I get cranked up.
It's so funny, guys, because he's a pretty quiet guy. Like, but when he gets on a roll, something he's interested in, forget about it. No, it's good. You got to start your own channel, honey.
Yeah. Okay. Love it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just seeing that
Go
one
ahead. You
now.
can read that.
So Eben Alexander had an experience, and he's a medical doctor. So in fact, I just listened to I got the audiobook on a CD, and I listened to it all the way through twice because he had a lot to say. He was a medical doctor, and he went at it from a medical standpoint. He said he was a complete skeptic before this had happened to him, and felt like, yeah, this was the breaking down of the brain and the body, and it couldn't happen. Well, the thing he went through was so extreme that he realized there's no way it could have happened if it weren't for the supernatural.
So he had one himself, and he's a
He
a
did.
neurologist.
Yeah, he was a neurologist.
Wow.
And he had all the stuff happen where he could vividly remember. And this is the thing, when you're not in a body, like, I don't have a great memory, right? So I'm always fumbling and stumbling to try to remember people's names and events and things. People that went through these NDEs report back absolutely vivid recall. Even after they come back in their body, they have vivid recall of every part of it because it's so embedded in them, because there was nothing to interfere with the experience. So they come back and they can, I mean, this guy, same thing. It was like a multi-hour CD, but it was fascinating because this guy really had it down to a science, and he'd been an extreme skeptic that didn't believe in any of this. And then he obviously, after going through it, he couldn't not believe it anymore.
Yeah, well, we've got at least 2 or 3 people in the chat that have had these, and some other accounts that people, like friends, like Poet had a friend that had one.
Yeah.
He just saw his father.
I'm glad to see people on here that are.
Yeah, see, honey?
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, I feel like.
All right, now the other side of it, I just have to say, where is it? Ash, I 1000% don't want to invalidate anyone's experience. It just sounds so typically, quote, heaven. It's hard for me to wrap my head around. Yeah, that's kind of where I am. And also follow up, religion has fucked things up.
You know what? Religion's fucked things up for a lot of people. Here's another big thing with these NDE experiences. People have had them that have been atheists, Catholics, Christians, cult people, unbelievers, people from other faiths, and they come back and say, you know what? There's just none of that. It doesn't matter. It absolutely doesn't matter in the sense that God, like a God that's really, like, I'm making the word God very generic here because I feel like
Right.
there's one God entity that is pure love. So when these people go over there, there's no judgment, there's no condemnation. Even the life review is meant to just as a learning experience, like, hey, this is what the consequences of what you've been doing or what you've done in your life. So knowing that is sufficient to, like, the Bible, people
It's
talk
kind of
about
like It's a
repentance
Wonderful
and all this
Life.
stuff.
Like It's a
Yeah,
Wonderful Life. I love that movie.
exactly.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, it's actually
yeah.
true to this in a sense. It seems like fantastic,
Well,
but yet,
the fact that I guess
you
like
see
a
it from
lot
the
of
other side.
credible people, have said that they reported that they had him. But yeah, I'm with you, Ash. I am kind of skeptical. So I'm glad he's got some people to talk to on here about it,
Well, some
because
people, yeah, it feels
he's
good
usually
not being
skeptical
like,
about things if you can't prove something. So
well, yeah, let's put it this way. I was a total skeptic for years, and I'm like, it never really resonated with me until recently. And then things started to make a lot of sense. And once I started watching these, I'm like, you know what? All the puzzle pieces are falling into place, because Christianity was the only religion that I had not out of hand just written off as nonsense, literally. Like most religions to me are man-made and, messed up, and there's cult leaders and,
Christianity is
oh, it's
pretty
been
out there
distorted
too.
horribly. I mean, parts of Christianity, because the Bible was a collection of a bunch of different writings from a bunch of different people over a long period of time, some of it's got to be right? And there's even things in the Bible that it was sort of purged by the Catholic Church in some ways of things that were totally consistent with this, because people couldn't handle it. And even Jesus, like, all right, I'm on a rant. I know
Oh,
it.
sorry. I just want to say hi to some people. I
Okay.
just nudged him,
Yeah.
like I said, we've been married 26 years. So I said I'd share my channel with him, but I
Yeah.
don't want him to.
Okay.
I don't want him to
I get
steal
it.
all of you.
No, I'm glad we're having this
They like you
conversation.
better, honey.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
you're very
that's just
excited
a
about it.
novelty. I'm not on that much.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I said I would try not to roll my eyes, because right now, like, I'm just kind of happy not knowing stuff, because like I'm still trying to, deconstruct and deprogram from a lot of the shit I've
Well, I
been
know
through.
we've been through bad
So
shit, and what I'm telling you is basically that shit was wrong. It
right.
doesn't mean that God is bad or the afterlife is bad. It
I
just
don't
means
know about
religion's
God.
bad. All the
Like,
condemnation and negative shit that people have been exposed to has nothing to do with God. Scientology is a complete fraud.
yeah.
So, in case you were
You're
wondering,
fired up today. Usually he's just kind of like,
this is just a hot button thing right now. I've been kind of
all
digging deep into
right. I'm
this.
glad you get it. You can get it
So,
out, honey.
oh no, I've been sort of
I
storing it
just
up,
want to
and I'm
say
like,
hi to
holy
some
shit, this
people.
is amazing, right?
Really, you're having a revelation, right, Ash? Ash is in the chat. Melinas, I made it to a live once in like a month. Oh, hey.
Yeah, good for you. Welcome.
And this is your hubby. I didn't know. Well, no, I just picked him up hitchhiking. He was like walking outside, wandering around. I'm like, hey, you want to come do a podcast with me?
Yeah, sure, why not? Got nothing better to do. If the coffee's good and we're good.
Yeah, you made the coffee. It's good.
Okay, Terry Ray.
Yeah, Terry Ray. Hey, Terry.
Okay, hi.
You want to read that?
I'm an empath too, which is why I know early on if I like. Yep, I have that same thing. Like intuition is sort of tied into it. I've gone through that thing too, where I can completely sense something about somebody and not have any physical evidence. Like I just know there's something wrong or something good about them. Like people that you say hi to and instantly you've known them for 10 years. So you could hand them your wallet and keys and walk away and never worry. I go through that. And it's inexplicable, but it's real.
Speaking of great people, I missed you guys so much.
Hello.
Hey, Penny 5A. Where have you been on my life, girl? So good to see you. Oh, and like a bunch of you have wrenches. I got all kinds of wrenches in the chat.
Love it.
Oh, there's Jeff. BTS. Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
Hello.
Are you still in the UK? This is the one that the man that I interviewed a little while ago. We talked about recovery. PTS Jeff. He's from Canada, and he went to the protest out in UK. And met up with Kelly. You haven't seen Kelly's live yet. You got to see that.
Yeah, no, I got to get caught up.
And he gave her like a Mario light. It was really cool. So, oh my goodness, we got a super chat.
Oh, how
hey,
cool.
Thank you, Kimberly. You want to read that?
Okay.
My eyes are
Kim Stovall. My skeptical grandfather had an NDE recall of colors we can't see here, and people that passed came to meet him. No matter the cause, it gave me peace. Yep, that's totally
That's
consistent
pretty
with
much what
these
you've been telling me that
experiences.
people say, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Wow.
The
Interesting.
colors, the
I mean,
music, it's absolutely amazing.
interesting. Love it.
Love it. Duncan, did you look into Anita Morjani? You know, I'm still, I would say, early in the search, but fascinated because I've seen enough accounts. But I ordered some books recently. I haven't, but I'll make, you know what, I'm going to make a note of that name because I want to look into this because I'm looking for more and more credible sources to get more information. Because in the past, yeah, I'd read Ray Moody's books and I'd listened to Eben Alexander, I think it is, and you know, I'm most of what I'm getting now is basically there's a big movement in YouTube. There's a bunch of channels. In fact, I'll mention a couple here that I watch a lot of things
I can
on.
put links in the description, honey, if you want.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Because
So you can do that.
there's a number of them out there. Some of them put a religious spin, which I stay away from. Some of them are less credible than others. But the ones like the NDE Diary is pretty credible. And then there's another one, the Other Side NDE, which I watch a lot of things on because it's very clean and direct. Like they just get right into it. It's the accounts of what people have. You know, they're just given a first person account of what they've gone through. And these are the ones that are, you know, normal guys, you know, rednecks, drug addicts, people have died of ODs, people have died of car accidents, heart attacks, the whole 9 yards, from
Well,
kids
you
all
said
the way up.
neurologists, you know, that
Yeah,
guy.
doctors. I
Yeah.
mean, and
Wow.
these are people that, you know, it just rings true. Like they're not making it up. You couldn't make this
Well,
up.
it rings
You
true.
know?
What's true for you is true for you. They say in
True. Yeah.
Scientology.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm
Just
open
teasing you.
to consider anything, and when you see a whole bunch that are consistent in what people have gone through, it's like it's beyond. I mean, plus internally, like a lot of things that have kind of come to me and made sense to me and that I've personally experienced are all resonating with this. So
Yeah, Ash said it's just so cute. I know he's all fired up.
well,
I know, and I've just been kind of like stick in the mud. I'm like, yeah, that's nice, honey. Just because I'm just kind of like, I just say I all I know is that I don't know, you know, and I almost don't want to know right now. I'm just kind of, happy like with the life I have right now. But there, I think you've always been like a seeker and all that.
yeah.
I just want to put this up. My location, PTSD. My location is classified. Okay,
We
then.
won't come after you.
Okay, then.
See, Joel is on here somewhere.
Oh,
Hello.
there he is. Better
Hello.
late than
Oh yeah,
never.
jump in. It's never too late.
Absolutely. Great to see you, Joel. Awesome.
Well, I thank you all for being on here. I didn't know what the
Kirsten?
outcome of this would be, whether people would be
Yeah.
interested. Because honestly, I hope eventually to
There's a
go
show
further with
now.
this and maybe even interview some of the people who've had these because that would be fascinating.
Well then. Oh my goodness, you got a super
Yeah, Next Level
sticker. Honey,
Podcast.
you're rich. Thank you,
Oh,
Ash.
awesome. Thank you.
We got a
Very
super
cool.
chat and a super sticker.
Yeah, hey. I
Oh my
didn't expect to bring
goodness.
any money in on this. This is good. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, Next Level Soul Podcast. Yeah, there's something like that. That one's pretty good. Like,
oh, here we go. The channel for NDEs, Next Level Podcast.
yep.
Interesting.
I mean, I think, ultimately this is honest accounts that actually are convincing. So I feel like now when I look back at preachers and religious people and even the ones that are out there now, they're reading stuff out of a book and trying to make sense of it. And it's like the Bible even, I feel silly quoting the Bible here, but there's a scripture that talks about looking through a glass darkly and then face to face. And I'm like, yeah, if there's ever an illustration of this, there's a million people walking around handing out tracts and trying to evangelize people because they feel they better, or they're going to go to hell, or they're going to make points with God if they can convert people. And that's all essentially nonsense. And learning the actual truth, like, it wipes out all this stuff because these people are preaching stuff. They don't barely know anything. They know what they're reading out of a book and how they interpreted it. They haven't been there. They haven't really seen it for themselves. So all the negative judging, condemning, controlling, micromanaging stuff that is taught and practiced in so many churches, it's just like pick up your push broom and sweep it right out the door because it doesn't apply.
Well, that was
Actual
something that
reality
was just
has
always
nothing
like
to do with
hanging
it.
over my head, like that
Most
was
of us,
one of the
yeah.
reasons why, I just been in a religion. I was just like, okay, well, I guess I'll find out want to get there and whatever. If I'm going to burn in hell anyways, I might as well just have fun here, right? I might as well try to be a good person and enjoy my life, because it was just, you know how it was.
Well, most of
sometimes
us spend our life on the religious
we
roller
should
coaster,
probably do like your story, or like an in-depth thing about the cult, because that's where
Yeah,
we
I mean, I
met.
haven't
He was
given my
there
story
the
yet, and
entire
at some point
yeah.
I will, because now, like, honest to God, I feel like it's more complete than it ever was, because I've always been searching and seeking, and until I landed on this, started hearing real accounts. I mean, bits and pieces of the puzzle would fit together, and since I explored this, I feel like, and this sounds silly, but I mean, I sleep better at night now. The anxiety about being judged in the afterlife or hell or any of this stuff, it's basically gone. And I'm like, wow, I feel like now I'm making adjustments. Like, the old stuff that was programmed into your head is going to take a long time to get rid of all of. But even now, like, I'll lay down at night, it's like I can relax. I'm like, you know what? I'm not worried anymore.
Right.
If I got killed tomorrow, I know I'd be in a good place. It's not like here's another takeaway, is that the way I see it and the way it's been described by people, this is the away experience. Being on this planet is the away experience. Home is a place of love and acceptance. This is a learning experience.
Well,
And I've
can't
had
you
that
be home
revelation.
here?
Well, yeah, but yet not, because this is a very incomplete experience and very limiting. And you know what?
You got another super chat.
Hey.
I gotta keep it. Thank you, love it. That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. That's very cool. Yeah, because I know you are at an NDE or so. I think we're connected in that way of,
Yeah.
you have more understanding than me, but I believe in all of
Yeah,
this.
and I give, you know what, I give Amy Scobie credit, because like for a while, like I was a little bit triggered by some of the stuff she would say, and then she did some things that really proved to me that she lived, she practices what she preaches, and now I'm not so triggered talking about the Bible, and I think I can give her a little bit of the credit for that, because she has demonstrated that. But
I
can
mean,
I just read
sure.
just on along the lines of super chats? Ash said, thanks for donating to Marilyn and Duncan, Kimberly, and love it. Content creators and Ash. Content creators work hard and appreciate every dollar. We do. We work hard, but we also do really, really appreciate it. And while, I'm not doing it for the money, I'm glad to not have to ask him. I can kind of, if I need something for the channel, like the StreamYard fee, or, some chords or whatever, I can sustain it, so I don't have to like take from our bills or anything. So every penny is really, really appreciated. And our friend Joel.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting,
Really?
Joel, you're definitely an empath and a person with a great amount of compassion. You're kind of doing the work of God, whether you know it or not, by way of,
God meaning
well,
loosely,
love,
right?
as you say, you just use the
God
word
is
love.
love.
It's
Yeah,
like,
I believe
if
that.
you're looking out for the interests of others, animals, whatever, if you have love in your heart and you're finding ways to express it and you're helping people, that's one of the takeaways too of this whole NDE thing, is that these people come back and they're like aware of what really matters, and that we're basically all connected. So in a sense, what you do unto others, you're doing to yourself, and you're not doing it for selfish reasons. You're doing it to make others people's life better. So it's all good.
I love this comment. PTS for okay, you want to read that just because
Sure.
it's blurry over there?
Okay, so PTS for life. I feel like I'm going to spend the rest of my life figuring out who I really am, which is actually the formula for the treason condition in Scientology.
Yeah.
It's a sign when you don't do your job. Okay, that I don't
It's the second. Well,
totally
I can
get, but
speak a little bit to
yeah.
it, just because it's the second to lowest of the lower conditions, where you get sent to ethics and you're getting trouble because you didn't cut the mustard, you didn't measure up, right? So there's all these conditions like you have to do. And he said, I've always wondered that, because in fact, I started doing a series we just started last night with Doug, about breaking down some of these terms and words. And I told him I would like to do a whole thing on the word, the terms in the lower conditions, because we were always in lower conditions, and we had to do quote amend projects.
Groveling and
doing, we were
low level
demoted.
work.
We had to do heavy labor. We were in trouble. Nothing in policy that there wasn't a book. It was just whatever Marlene decided to throw at you. But that's interesting. It's actually the formula of the treason condition in Scientology. It's a sign when you don't do your job. So like the word treason to me, like so many words, like reasonable is screwed up. Doug,
Mm.
Doug and I went through a whole list like last night. I think we only got to like 5 out of the 12 of my quote fundy words. You know, some of them are just regular words in Christianity that were twisted and that were, you know, used in conjunction with each other to control you. Sorry, I know I'm going off on
It's
a
okay.
tangent,
Give me a break.
honey. But yeah, I'm like pumped up about this. But you know, a word like treason, right? What, you didn't sweep the floor correctly, so you're a traitor.
Treason is like
So
you tried to
yeah,
assassinate the president or
Jeff,
something.
I've always
Yeah, you
You're
know,
like
like
Benedict Arnold, like
a
treason. That's a little bit, you know,
little extreme.
yeah, just a little, but yeah, the words are like powerful. But then if you
Mm.
take away the mystique and you take away all of the dogma and all the shit, you're just like, this is, you know, this is ridiculous. So I'm kind of with Jeff as far as like, I'm going to spend the rest of my life, you know, figuring out who I really am. It's like, you know, I had been pretty much, you know, stuffed down, stifled, beat down. You were too, honey. And like we
Mm.
lost our sense of self. I mean, we're just like we're defeated. And you could see it in the pictures. I mean, you got really, really thin. You were like down to like
Well, you know what? Here's a
155, and
sad
you're like
part.
a, you know, not a small
Yeah.
guy.
Well, you want to, like, I went into this cult thing wanting to do better and make my life count for something and feel like, hey, if there's a God there, I want to line up my life with what God actually wants, not realizing that we were getting sucked into deception. And people that appear to be well-meaning, that think they know the truth or can lead you to the truth, can lead you horribly astray, as we know. So it's like, I mean, I was thinking that, you know, now I've had this intuitive sense that is proving to be true with our kids. And I just knew, like, the horrible, what the hell was that shepherding book? You
Oh,
know,
I always have it
basically beating. I put it around back
Oh, you
because I didn't
moved
think
it.
it
Come
would
on, I
become
always gotta have
applicable.
it so I can read
All right,
it.
yeah. Well, anyway, I didn't think I'd be mentioning it in this chat. However, the whole harsh discipline, beat your kids into submission,
Yeah.
micromanage them to death, you know, make them fear you. I always sensed that intuitively that was wrong. And I think, you know, and I always feared that all people think I'm a softie and that I don't believe in discipline with my kids. But deep down, my sense was to show them love and support and basically say, hey, I believe in you. And I believe you've got gifts and you've got a lot of good ahead of you, and invest in them and be willing to risk some mistakes and some wasted money and time. It's like that actually, now that I've, you know, gotten on board with this whole thing, makes me realize this is what love really does. And all that Corinthians stuff about long suffering and patient and all this, that's the real deal. It really is.
And you have been like that with our kids. I
I
almost have
try
my
to.
kids with
Well, I
our kids.
believe in that, you know.
I you know, and the kids know this too. I always say you guys hit the jackpot with your in the dad department.
Well,
You
Maryland
know,
too is like, it seems sort of extreme to some
I know
people,
said word,
but
Duncan.
our attitude was, and Marilyn would always tell them, hey, look, you know, we love you guys. No matter what you do, we still love you. And if you get in some trouble, pick up the phone. If you're out somewhere and you drank too much, you can't drive, pick up the damn phone. We'll come and get you.
Because I didn't have that. You didn't either. I mean,
No, not
we had
really.
to
You had to
hide
sneak around and hide
everything
what
from
you
our
were doing.
parents. You
But you know
know,
what?
I said
Somebody,
I'll love you anyways. Just don't join the cult. No, just kidding. But
yeah.
that was my list of things. It was like don't join the cult. When they moved out, the boys moved out. We were like, number one, this is our advice: don't join a cult. Number two, don't be silly, wrap your willy. And number three, don't go to prison or something like that. You know, something about breaking the law. We got 2 more super chats. Oh my god.
Oh, awesome.
Kirsten,
Wow.
you're a sweet soul, Marilyn. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Sweetheart.
Wow.
Jeez, honey.
Hey, who'd have thought?
For
Wow.
cords or yarn. Yay.
There you go.
You have too much yarn.
Yeah, that's right.
And yeah, for cords.
Mm.
Thank you.
Mm.
Yes.
Mm.
There was something else I
Mm.
wanted to put up. Oh no, I don't want to put you in timeout. Jeez.
Uh-oh.
Oh, sorry, Kimberly.
Oops.
Marilyn, I so relate to that anger about being was it when I was talking about like excuse me, the hellfire and all that, like how like
Oh, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
religion just puts that on you. And I love it.
Hmm.
Look at Marilyn knowing the Scientology stuff. Well, yeah, I mean, I spent probably thousands of hours at this point listening to SPTV, and I still will, and I still love SPTV, but we have been going a little bit rogue lately.
Yeah.
And talking about other cults and other things that can be a little culty, especially depending on the group. Like Ashley shared her story the other day, her experience in AA and some of the you know what the writings off right off their website in real time, and yeah, it could be a little bit culty. Sorry, I better let you talk because I'm
No, it's okay.
it's really dry in here. Oh my goodness, look at that.
Awesome. Yeah, you know what? I would love to do, say, I mean, this is going well enough, so I would say, because I wasn't sure what kind of Pandora's
Well,
box I was opening.
he's an ex-Scientologist. You could tell him your cult story
Yeah,
too, or your recovery
totally. Well,
story.
yeah,
If
because,
he's doing a recovery thing, and I talked
yeah.
to him.
Well, I feel like
Uh,
maybe, we'll definitely branch off of this and have bring some other people on board, because if there's other people that'd love to jump in on this. I didn't
oh,
want
look,
to,
love doesn't exist in Scientology.
no,
Yeah,
that's the sick part.
yeah.
It's an absolute fraud. And I was thinking other people have done
No
streams on this
compassion.
subject, but I
Yeah.
feel like Scientology kind of culled things from other religions and organizations and just faked them out, because, like, to me, the whole thing with the cans and the auditing is basically a fake form of, like, the Catholic confession thing, which itself isn't legitimate. And I mean, I don't want to, I feel bad bashing churches, but I mean, there's been a lot of misinterpretation and misapplication of things in most religions, and people are basically the blind leading the blind. Like, they're coming in with all these, what they think is right, especially the harsh condemning stuff, which I fell into that. And a lot of people beat themselves up. I mean, I remember, I've told the story before, but I'll say, when Carter, our youngest, was young, a little younger than he is now, he went through some depression and stuff like that. And I could see myself in him, because I had gone through that stuff when I was younger. And I told him, it took me, I don't know, I don't think I had this revelation until I was probably in my 40s or something. But one day I kind of had this thing come to me, and I'm like, you know what? I've been beating myself up for decades over things that I did. And now that I think about it, it didn't do any good to beat myself up. I was under the impression that if you beat yourself up badly enough about something that wasn't wrong or bad, you felt bad about, you'd stop doing it. You know what? It didn't work. And then I realized, you know what? I'm no worse than any other asshole out there. In fact, people out there are succeeding wildly, making money and having successful lives, supposedly, and they're jerks, and they're not even wanting to be good people. And why? I'm no worse than them. Why should I be beating myself up endlessly to try to make myself a better person? I just dropped it, and a whole lot of that crap just fell off. I'm like, you know what? We're all human. We're all making mistakes. We're all screwing up. You've got to just forgive yourself and move on if you fucked something up. So, but I told Carter about that. I was like, hey, don't beat yourself up. You're not going to get any better. It's not going to work. It's not going to make you a better person. And the whole idea with the love thing is you're forgiven. You're already forgiven.
Really, I beat
The shit's
myself
been
up
dropped.
involuntarily. Yeah, I hear
Yeah, well, I
you.
used to do it voluntarily.
Right, it
It
was
still
like
didn't
part of the
work.
program. Yeah, sackcloth
Yeah,
and
like, you're going to
ashes,
get better. It doesn't
laying
happen.
I gotta say it right, prostrate.
Prostrate, yeah, not
Pros-
prostate or prostitute or anything else. Yeah.
Oh, this Jeff, I have receipts for thousands that I was charged for confessional quote auditing just before I left Scientology.
And
That's
did it really do any good? Like, did you really climb up some ladder? I highly doubt it.
yeah, it's a business
It's a fucking
masquerading.
business. Pardon,
Yeah,
I'm starting to slip up my language, but
that's okay. We're far into
I
the
get
stream.
cynical about some
I
of
know
these
you're
things.
fired up. Like usually, seriously, he has a very you and Jeff will get along because I think you have similar temperaments. But you were fired up today because this is like something you're really
Well, I've
passionate
been
about.
drilling
And well, how
down
much
into
coffee have you
this.
had, babe?
Yeah, plus the coffee helps.
I know. Look at you taking over, get super chats and everything else today.
Well, I guess we're onto something. I mean, I feel like, yeah, when I stumbled on this thing and started digging down, I'm like, I knew I was onto something, because it's changing me. And I'm like, it takes a fair amount to change me in terms of what I really believe, and it's like deep down core values. I'm like, yeah, I'm re-examining my whole core values. But on the other hand, feeling like you're accepted and not condemned and not judged and you're forgiven, all this stuff. This is great stuff, because I feel free to move on. Like, I'm not going to hell. I mean, I used to feel like, yeah, I might go to hell. I don't know. And I can't make up, because I used to be on this religious cycle. I know a lot of people could identify with this, is growing up in a fairly staunch, Methodist type church. It was like you go through the idea, well, you go before God, you confess your sins, you repent, you feel great, and you feel forgiven. And I did go through kind of a spiritual experience years ago that maybe I'll detail another time, but I ended up feeling forgiven and released from the past and all this stuff. Here's the problem. How long before you sin again? And then what happens? Who do you go to when you've screwed up again, and then again, and then again, and then again? It was like the endless loop of when you feel forgiven, you're high as a kite. Well, I've been released from all my sins. I've been forgiven. This is great. I'm all, until the next time and you make a real bad mistake. And now who do you turn to? And now you're like, now you blew it. You were forgiven. Now you really fucked up.
Yeah.
And now who do you go to? You know,
doesn't it kind of
it's an
sound
endless loop.
narcissistic of God, though? It's like, because Doug was saying, you know, he always thought that the God, especially the God of the Old Testament, was a narcissist, because it was like you have this personal relationship with this being, right? And they want you to worship them, do their will, right? Give up everything. And if you step out of line, they won't talk to you anymore. You know, they turn their face away from you. And if you repeatedly piss them off, they'll throw you in hell to burn forever and ever and ever and ever. And they tell kids this, you know, as fire victim, you know. So I used to think about what's it going to feel like to burn forever and ever, or if I miss the rapture, which I knew I was going to miss the rapture.
And like, then, who qualifies, really?
Right. And then I didn't want to take the mark of the beast, because then you're definitely going to hell. But if you don't take the mark of the beast, you can't buy or sell, and then you get your head chopped off. And
that sucks too.
And then you end up in heaven with no head. And you're walking around with pearly gates with your head under it. Can I come in? And because you missed the rapture, you don't get a mansion. You end up in headless slum heaven. So yeah, there's just no good alternative. So what? No, I like your alternative. I hope you're right. But it's okay if it's okay if like I just go to whatever this alternate whatever and don't believe. There's no judgment, right? As long as I'm not like Jeffrey Dahmer, and then I have to feel
okay. So I'll throw this out there. Sure.
All right. Thank you so much, Kirsten.
Yeah, thank you.
It's only 12. Only? No, that's awesome.
That's
thank
great.
you. What's DKK like? Where's that from?
Does it say me Denmark or something? I don't know.
DKK. I don't have kids, but I always told the young kids in our family to call me anytime if they were in trouble. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for the super chat, and thank you for that comment. That really means a lot. I would just want to go through some of the start. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. There's some podcasts. Geez, honey, we could be here all day.
No, I know. Well, we're onto something. Well, I'm encouraged.
Oh, Denmark.
Yeah, that's what I thought it might have been. Yeah, I'm encouraged because I want to see this.
I told Ash like at the beginning, I was like, just watch out, because doing live streams can be addicting. Any of the creators in here, let me know if you think that's true. Could it be a little bit addicting?
Well, funny thing is, like, we're all coming from someplace, and I've sort of had this, like, we're never-ins, so the Scientology is interesting because it's one of many cults.
We're never in Scientology, but
we're never in Scientology, but we're in a cult itself. But I mean, the unanswered question for me was always, well, okay, so we can shoot down most, if not all, of these other things that we've been involved in, because they're not really giving us the whole truth, and they're distorted and been kind of bastardized and screwed up. Where do we go from here? Where do we go? It's like, okay, I get it. We're healing from bad things, but we don't want to stay in that place forever. I'm like, yeah, I've been through some bad shit. I get that. But to look forward to something else that's better, how do we heal from what we've been through? Well, I feel like the takeaway from the NDE thing for me is like, wow, now I feel like I've gotten the real deal, this true story. And now, based on that, I feel hopeful and I feel less anxious. I'm not worried about what's going to happen in the future. I'm like, this is good stuff, because the thing they talk about in the Bible, the gospel, it translates as good news. Knowing you're potentially condemned to die in hell and be judged and burned in a lake of fire, I don't find that to be good news. It never sat well with me. And even in the church and everything, I've met good people in the churches. Some of the churches I've been in that were really solid, and they actually encouraged. In fact, I'll just give this really quick story. This is interesting. When I had my first kind of major breakthrough experience, it followed a period of deep depression where I was basically contemplating
Oh,
Okay.
honey. All right, just take a breath. Take a breath.
Wow.
You're okay. Yeah, I know it hits you, right? He never cries. Oh,
Okay.
man. All right, you're all right. You want to take a quick break? I'll just
No,
go
no,
through some of the stuff.
I'll power through this.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
So I did go through a really dark experience, and I got out of it. And at the time, I didn't know who God was really. I had no knowledge of the NDE stuff or anything at the time. So looking back, I realized it was a valid experience, and it turned my life around. And as a result of that, I ended up going to this church for a while. And in that church was some really solid people. I think God actually used them to kind of help me. But I'll never forget this particular time. There was a prayer meeting with a bunch of guys. It was like a men's group. And these were good guys. They were seekers. And I feel like, in spite of the fact that churches are screwed up in a lot of ways, there's still good people that are seeking, that are trying to do better. So I remember one day we're sitting in this meeting, in a bunch of guys, probably 12 or 15 guys, we're all sitting there and discussing whatever, just chatting, having coffee. And here's a weird thing. There was this old guy who was a farmer. I didn't know him too well, but he was one of the senior members of the group, really good guy. And we're sitting there in this group, and it was the end of the evening. We're about to break up. And at one point I looked over, and I was sitting maybe 2 or 3 people away from this guy. And all of a sudden, I looked at the guy, and he was glowing. And he was like an 80-something, almost 90-year-old guy. He was glowing like he was 20 or 30. His skin was glowing. He looked 30 years younger. And I was like, I made a mental note. I'm like looking at the guy like, whoa. And then all of a sudden, he keeled over and fell out of his chair, dead. And now, looking back at that,
Sorry.
it sounds preposterous. That guy was passing out. He was probably having a
No,
death
that's
experience. So he
amazing.
didn't
That's
come back. We
amazing.
tried to CPR the
Just how you
guy.
said it was
Well,
wow.
yeah. Well, this was starting to trigger me really severely because of the crap I'd been through before that. And having had a spiritual experience, it was like an NDE, but not for me. And I watched that guy, and I'm like, I was just trying to fathom what was going on with him, because he was like staring into the distance at
Wow.
something. And then when he hit the floor, I looked around, and then myself and a couple other guys tried to do CPR, and a couple other guys looked at us and said, you know what, let him go. And it seemed like so
Oh my
counterintuitive,
God. I
because
think
we're
you
so
told me that
used
story,
to,
but you,
yeah.
I
Well, but now I didn't have the context to
wow.
understand what that story meant. So when that guy, he literally left his body. Now, he wasn't an NDE because he didn't come back. That was his time.
But you could kind of see.
But you knew
things?
something supernatural was going on. And he, at that point, just left his body. He left the earth, poof.
Interesting.
And then somebody told me later he always wanted to die in the presence of his friends, which he did.
Oh God, now you're gonna make me cry, and I think I'm out of tissues again. It's okay. I'll use my sleeve. Oh, hi.
Uh-huh.
Wow, guys. Okay, honey.
Yeah, Jesus, I'll power through this. Okay.
Okay, let me You
Mm.
want to go grab us a box of tissues? I know, isn't this crazy? You know, we're definitely comfortable with you all, right? Let me read. Joel always has really awesome comments. Joel, I used to fear death, but I got over that. I guess that I must be at peace with my life and my past. I am just a hick from the sticks. What do I know? So are we. No problem. No problem. And Joel had mentioned something the other day. I can't remember exactly what the comment was. And I started talking about your dad, how he was at peace when he left,
Oh,
when
yeah.
he died. And
That
he
was
said
another case.
he told you
Yeah.
he was taking his toys home.
Yeah, that was very cool. That was another touching moment. Again, I didn't have the context to understand it, but the words he used are exactly the same words that people in the NDE experience have expressed, because he was laying there on his deathbed. He was totally,
He was at peace, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'll give the quickest possible overview. So he had been diagnosed with cancer like 10 years earlier, and he was offered all these alternatives of radiation and chemo and all this stuff. And he accepted the idea that he only had the 10 years left, and yet he declined any kind of radical anything. He says, you know what, I got 10 years left. I've had a good life. I'm just going to live out the time that I got left and make the best of it. I don't want to be laying around hospital beds. I don't want chemo. I don't want radiation, all this stuff. And he was a calm, peaceful kind of guy. And so he went ahead, and this is crazy because I would find this hard to live life normally, having the guillotine blade hanging over your head, like you're sentenced to death. Well, you know what? At my age now, I'm going to be 65 this year. I figured, reasonably speaking, I might have 20 years. So that's why I'm making the most of my life now. I want to get out and do everything we can that's good while
Hikes
we got the
mountains every
time.
other day.
I'm trying to stay in shape. I love being outdoors. I'm like, you know what? I got limited time. Well, you know what? We all have limited time. We're all, the clock's ticking, the hour's running, the stand's running through the hourglass. So it's like, yeah. So, so my attitude is this: is like, you got to make the best of the time you got here. And I used to pray this weird prayer. I said, God, don't let me die until I've learned what I'm here to learn. I didn't know that was actually consistent with this whole thing either. I'm like, there's got to be something here to learn. I want to learn what I got to experience, what I got to experience while I'm here before it's too late. So that's been my general attitude.
Can we do a fuck Marlene?
I probably have a cold sip. But...
Okay. Do you, Marlene? Right, everybody partake with your coffee. Drink coffee.
Okay, lighten the mood a little bit. But anyway, I apologize for the emotional.
No, don't apologize. That's what this is here for.
Well, I know. Yeah, we're a tight group. We're a little tighter now because
you got a super sticker, honey. That took quite the turn. It did, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, no, I did not expect to go back and relive that experience, but that's kind of how it happens. But needless to say,
that was beautiful. People say that's powerful. Yeah, this Ash said that this channel is oh, look, it's our friend.
Hey. Oh, no shit. No shit.
Somebody we know in real life.
We actually know this guy. How you doing, bud?
Hi, honey.
Oh, wow.
Oh, tell Monica I said hi. We gotta get together. Wow. See?
Yeah, who would have thought? Oh, welcome.
That's amazing. Yeah, we're talking. Yeah, Doug, we're talking about cults.
Everything.
Stop by sometime. Good to see you. Good to see you on here. I didn't know you guys were on. Oh, I did know Monica was on YouTube. That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, I just threw down a lot of more emotional stuff than I knew was even.
Yes, we're drinking coffee. Yes, we're drinking coffee.
Yeah.
We did do some. I was just drinking light beer last night.
I did see a bottle back there though.
Oh no, that was no. Literally, Haley gave me like this much of some
captains or something. Yeah. I wouldn't blame you if you did.
That was on the week. That was when you were gone.
All kinds of things happen when I'm not here. What happens here stays here unless I see a bottle.
We were imbibing. Yes. Yep. Oh yeah, another Doug. I was just talking about Doug.
Oh yeah.
Well, this is Doug McGrath and then Doug Kramer.
Yeah. I wonder who else is lurking.
Imbibing.
Right?
Yeah, we're talking about imbibing. Duncan is the fastest monetizer on YouTube. I'm gonna keep him around. My goodness.
I don't know. This certainly has been interesting. Holy crap.
Yeah. I love SPTV, and we've been in lots of stuff, right? As far as being, a never end. Yeah, I already have merch that says never ends. So it's like no more never ends. But I understand that. It's like we've all been in something, and that's why we can all relate and support each other. So someone said about looking for it. It's just about the direction that our my channel is going in and stuff. It's like, I'm not going to abandon talking about Scientology, but I also think it's important to talk about other things too, because it is all similar and it's all part of the growth.
Well, you know what? I mean, probably most NDEs would say this. We are all in this together in a real way. We're all connected. And,
yes, thank you, Kimberly.
So I mean, my hope is this is maybe a part one of something, because I feel like we started a conversation. I'm making a threat. I feel like I need to start my own channel just to not have to take over Maryland's, which I don't want to do anyway. But I mean, the thought being, there's a lot of people that have put a lot of cool comments and things, and there's NDEs on here, and I would love to discuss, have them on the stream. And I mean, I felt like, this one needed to be kind of two of us, just so I could get out what I was kind of pressurized with all this stuff. And I feel like I got that opportunity. So if anyone that's had an NDE or wants to get on and discuss this in depth, that would be super. I'd love to keep this going,
Yeah.
at some point
Can
in
I
the
just go
future.
through a few
Sure.
more of the? Just have a lot of start. Cat ACDC fan. Good morning from Pac, Northwest Washington State.
Pacific Northwest.
Pacific. Oh, Pacific. Got it. Okay. Just stumbled on your live. Hey, nice to meet you, hubby. Hey,
Hello.
Cat ACDC fan. I don't know if you've ever been in my chats, but I've seen you in the chats. So welcome, welcome. Kimberly. In Christianity, fear of God is twisted. If you interpret it straight from Hebrew Greek, it is respect, right?
Yeah, I totally
Kills
believe
me
that,
that it's
because
used.
God is love, and the Bible even says perfect love
Reverence.
casts out all fear. There is no fear in love. That's something you don't hear from preachers too often, especially if they're hellfire and brimstone. The idea that God is love and perfect love casts out all fear. We're not meant to be in fear. Fear is literally, one of the guys testified that it's the opposite of love. Like, love is a constructive force that motivates people to want to do better, to do what's right, da 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 da. And fear is a destructive. Think of right now what fear has done. The world, the earth is full of wars. What are they based on? Most of them fear. People are running in fear and fighting in fear and trying to hang on to what they have through fear and da 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 da. So it's not our friend. Don't ever buy the idea that fear is your friend, unless it's a healthy fear of like jumping off, being careless and getting hurt or something like that. That's just common sense. But
yes, Kim, I saw your 2 stickers. I think I put them up. Thank you so much.
oh, there's one now.
Yeah, do not apologize. Yeah, I think you sent that twice. Thank you so much. That's very sweet of you.
Thank you.
Those are super chats, something like that. Yeah, you. I'm just putting up some.
Yeah, thanks everybody that's been watching. If you missed the beginning, you can always rewatch later to catch what things got more intense obviously toward the end, but it's been an interesting little journey here.
Ash said, Marilyn's good at getting people to go deep on lives and making them addicted to the connection. Aw. I hope you're comfortable with me, honey.
Yeah, too much so, if anything.
Too much so.
Well, I mean, I spilled my guts here, man.
Hey, it is it's a comfy little corner of YouTube.
Yeah. No, it's very cool.
Evelyn. Hey, Evelyn. I feel like I haven't said hi to. I always try to, as much as I can, say hi to everybody that comes in. But it's good for you and other non Scientology. So what would that be, like Scientologists, to talk about other cults. Some of the long-standing SP channels have fans that are LDS, JW, so forth. It does no good to offend them. You have more space. Oh, yeah, I think I know what you're saying. Yeah, I understand that. Like, I know that Aaron had expressed that, he wanted to stick with Scientology because he had Shalise from Cults to Consciousness on. She's the next more. She's that really cute lady girl. I was girl lady that she sort of looks like an Osmond, and she's really smiley, and she has Cults to Consciousness, like a really big channel. And she was on with Aaron and talking about Mormonism, and he lost some subscribers for that, but I don't mind. I mean, I feel like when I was in the cult, it was easier for me to look at other cults, and even when I was deprogramming, like deconstructing everything and healing, it was easier for me. I said this all the time, but to not be triggered by that language. So, and yeah, I think it's good to branch out. I know it's helped me to learn about other coercive control groups and culty kind of cultiverse things. So I think maybe other people will resonate with them too. And even what you're talking about today,
Well, my feeling is this is like
you've
if JWs are banging on the door, they're just people that actually mean well and want to do something good, and they've been duped. So it's almost like my feeling now is like, okay, so God isn't even judging them, and if they died that day, they would be in front of a God that's not judging them. And it's like, okay, they were seekers in some way or form, and they got deceived. Even if they're zealously pushing stuff at you that's false, they're doing it in ignorance, I think.
He's addicted.
So I feel like they're similar to us more than we want to think. Every cult, and other than, okay, I'll throw this out there. I didn't mention this because it's a very minority. I think there's only one NDE thing that I remember where somebody gave a fairly graphic account of a hell-like experience where they saw like creatures and beings that were really on the dark side and deliberately had done a lot of dark things and were stuck there for who knows how long or permanently, I don't know. But I mean, that was maybe one or two such accounts out of hundreds. So it's very rare. And if if there's a hell and a dark side, it's only for people that basically deliberately insist on being there and they just reject the light. Like, because a lot of NDE experiences involve people knowing they need to go toward the light because the light is what will expose them and who they are and what their motives are and will lead them out of the darkness and all that. So people that end up in hell kind of want to be there. They kind of decide to be there. They reject the forgiveness and the love and everything like that. So I'm
Sorry, you see
not
my
an expert.
You see my smirk?
Yeah, I do. Okay. So I don't consider myself an expert on the subject yet. That's something I can't really say much to,
Yeah,
but
because
I'm
I was
saying,
asking, I just don't want to ask you something because then it'll be another 20
yeah, no,
minutes.
I know,
But
I get it.
like
Well,
who
we need to
made
do
this? Where did it come
a
from?
part B,
Like
perhaps.
like how did all this happen?
Yeah. No, there's a million unanswered questions.
Right.
I just wanted to share the fact that where I'm coming from is like, wow, I
Yeah,
feel
I'm
like
glad we
we're
talked
onto
about it. I
something.
know you
I
were.
think it's really it's good news. It's great stuff, and it deserves further exploration. So I hope this just motivates other people to say, hey, I think I'll check this out. This does make sense, and it's like it may not be right for everybody, or might not be the right time, because I rejected this for a long time, and now I'm like, I resonate with it. I'm like,
And
yeah,
he's got to
I
live with
buy
somebody
this.
who's just like, yeah, that's nice, honey.
Yeah, well, no, it's given me
I'm
hope. I
just-
feel like it's done me a lot of
yeah.
good. So I'm like, this make a lot of the puzzle pieces have fallen into place. That's kind of how I see it. This has made a lot of the puzzle pieces fall into place and answer a lot of my questions. I'm like, well, damn, we've come out of a lot of bad crap. Where do we go from here? Hopefully somewhere better. And I believe, there's an actual truth out there. We just got to keep looking for it. Don't give up. And,
Have you heard of moral injury, honey?
Nope. But
let us know what
go
it
ahead and
is,
elaborate
Ash.
on it. Yeah.
I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is actually. PTS for life. I don't know if you're still here, Jeff, but going live is addicting. I love chatting with folks. Yes, I know. Like I miss my peeps when I don't get to talk to you guys, and that's why I think it was. Geez, the days are all. Was it yesterday? Maybe no. I think it was the day before. I didn't have morning musings yesterday. I did a stream with Doug at night, and I was helping people, different creators in StreamYard yesterday. But in the 2 days ago, I just had an agenda to have no agenda because I just wanted to connect with everybody, and talk about what they wanted to talk about. So
Jason's got an interesting comment there.
Go ahead, honey. Read it up.
So Jason in 1970, I've listened to lots of other people talk about their NDE, and not one of them has been anything like what I experienced. All right, I'm interested. That okay, perhaps if you're open to it, we could do a stream together and kind of talk about things. Get a few people on that have had these experiences. I'd love to hear more directly from the people that have had them. That would be fascinating.
Excuse me.
Jeff Mara podcast.
Jeff Mara.
I have not heard of this.
Lots of NDE. Write it down, honey. Easy to discern what is likely or not. Lori plays. I've never done a live. I really don't have anything to offer in lives. At least it doesn't take a couple of weeks to get one up. Yeah. If you're working live, you want to go live with me sometime, Lori Plays? I'm game. I'm up for it. Yeah, let me know. It's not. I mean, it does take some getting used to. Although you got used to it pretty quick. I got used to it.
Yeah,
it's good to go on with someone. I can't imagine doing like solo lives right off the bat.
Yeah, well, I would always worry about have these dead spaces of silence. Now I'm not thinking about it because we talk way too much, so we fill all the spaces.
We're like talking over each other.
So that's not a worry if you're excited about something. You gotta.
I'm really so. This has been amazing. Good job,
honey. Good to have you here.
Thank you for all the super chats and the love and the comments and thank you, Ash. Everyone, make sure to like the video and subscribe. Yes, please, and subscribe to Ash. Ash, have you changed your @ sign yet for your? Because it was. Let's see. I've got some banners. Ash channel at Harlots Jezebels. That always makes me smile. It always makes me smile. And I'll just throw up some other banners. This is PTSPTV.tv, and that's for the Discord. What else we got? Yeah. I don't know. I got a bunch of them now. Yeah. So we can maybe just look and see if we got. I have a few more starred, and then we can. Workaholic Panda. Hey, you two seem to have a good balance together. We do balance each other out, don't we? Because you're usually more mellow. I mean, today you're pumped with your, you know, subject matter, but usually you're pretty mellow, and I'm the one that's like, ah. But I think I've mellowed out a little bit, and you've gotten more lively. Maybe we've balanced each
Perhaps,
other out.
yeah. I've gotten more comfortable on here. You know, the first few
Yeah.
of them, you feel a little
Just
uncertain of
balance.
where it's going to go. And this, of course, you don't know where it's going to go. You just jump in and go with it.
Yeah. Great. All right, I'm gonna start a couple more things, and we'll be going about what, an hour and 20? Oh, okay. Let me read these. Ash, moral injury is when you deal with a trauma coming out from a coercive group, what was done to you. And then it's also the guilt you feel from perpetrating abuse on others of the group's rules and behaviors.
Yeah, we went through that. Yeah, because you're
totally, yeah. There's a major snitch culture and major.
Yeah, and you're putting judgment on people that later you realize weren't in the wrong. It's just like you're compelled to, you know, shit talk other people or reject them on the basis of culty nonsense.
Yeah, Ash always also said, me and Marilyn talked about my experience in AA the other day. Yeah, if you haven't seen that stream, I highly recommend it. It's on both of our channels. It's on Ash's channel too. So at Harlots Jezebels. And Ash, you can put links in the, because you have a wrench. You can just share whatever links you want to your channel or whatever you mention if you want to. Okay, so let's go down. So we did the Jeff Mara, that. Oh, okay. I'm going back a little bit. Love it. That's a beautiful story, Duncan. I can understand how it's emotional to recall. Yeah, that was the. Thank you for sharing that with us, honey.
Well,
Thank you so much.
I would have held back if I knew I was going to totally lose it. But on the other hand,
it just happens. It just happens on this channel.
Yeah, some things really.
Workaholic. Hi from San Diego. Oh wow, I love Marilyn's spirit, energy, so healing, positive, and powerful. Such a good mama. Thank you. Thank you so much. Unless you have to live with me.
No.
I love you. I like this one. God is love from Yvonne. God is love. He'll drown your ass if he gets mad at you. Oh, but wait a minute though. He sent the rainbow as a promise that he will not drown the earth again. But fire, brimstone is still on the table. Just saying.
Yeah, there's other things that can be done, right?
I know. We're just such dark senses of humor. Oh, hey, Nico. 5 minutes in, my mom had an NDE. I was there at the time. Oh, terrible experience. She had OD'd on heroin. We were little kids whose mom wouldn't wake. Oh my goodness. She told me many years later that she had a few NDEs. Wow. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's awful. And you said that there were some NDE like stories that were overdoses and accidents.
Yeah, people came back from all kinds of stuff. Yeah, and yep.
Oh, Pup Groomer about her channel. I film more during the week and edit at night and post more towards the end of the week. In weekend, no lives yet. Yeah, see, I'm lazy. I like to do lives because I don't have to edit or anything.
Yeah, it definitely makes it easier in that sense.
Ash, please make sure to sub to Marilyn. And y'all, my YouTube link is right above. So she did. Thank you. Good job. I love it. I know. Yeah, this is actually a really good question. Love it. That must have been terrifying to Nico. terrifying for you. Did the NDEs change her?
Hmm.
So that is a good
Good
question,
question.
because
Well,
I keep
sure.
thinking about It's a Wonderful Life,
Yeah. Well, most
that
people.
movie, about how
I
he
mean,
got
there are
changed.
reports
Or
of
like
people that.
Scrooge, what is that called? Christmas Carol.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was changed in the end,
Yeah.
So that's a good question. Did it change people?
Oh, totally. I mean, there have been some reports of people, and this is the weird part that would seem kind of amazing to me at first, but not, is that people that had gone to the other side and realized how much love and everything was there, a lot of them were reluctant to come back. And they would be like, oh my God, I don't want anything to do with that life anymore. I don't want to go back there. That planet is hell. There's so much. It's like, and then it was explained to one of these people that said, well, it's a free will planet, basically. And people's free will reigns in a sense. We're isolated, we're cut off from this, God, basically the love and everything. So there's all the competition and all the negative stuff going on down here. This is rough. A lot of people did not want to go back. And then what would happen would be is, and I feel like I don't want to shake people off by using the word God, but
Yeah,
basically
just
they would be
well, you're
shown
talking
what
about
would
like
happen
God
if
is
they
in
didn't
like
go back.
consciousness, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah. I
whatever.
mean, I consider it kind of generic, just say God, because
But yeah, I totally understand Peggy P. It's been very recent that
yeah,
I've
I'm
even been
trying to
able
not.
to listen to, and not be super triggered by some of the Christian terms and stuff. So I totally get that.
Yeah, I'm trying to skip around
Stop
that if I
preaching to
can.
us,
Well, let's
honey.
put it this way. Yeah, the other side, people are experiencing love. Love would actually be the force that would show people, like, okay, if you don't go back, in other words, most people would see what life would be like if they didn't go back, and then they would get a sense of, oh my God, I got to go back. I got kids, or I got this or that. I got people to look after and take care of. I'm willing. And then most of the sacrifices, like I know the church
But
makes
who
a
are
big.
they saying this to? I mean, who's in charge up there, wherever? Who made us, or who, whatever, puts this in motion, and who's in charge of who goes back and who doesn't?
Well, this is like part two, because this is a whole nother thing that gets really extreme. But it's like people that are basically reached a point where they've
love energy.
learned enough to be, you know, there and stay there, are not sent back.
So it's
But
sort of like
people
a
who have
karma
not
thing.
learned all the things they're supposed to are in some cases sent back. And then other people go back. Most people will go back voluntarily when they realize the price of not going back. They're going to abandon their loved ones or whatever, and they might have kids that really need them. So that would be the incentive to come back in most cases. So it was like sometimes people have the choice of whether to come back or not. Other cases, they're not ready, and they agreed.
This is a good comment. That's kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah. So here's the thing. Yeah. So when I use the word
Let's read
love
it
or
out loud for
whatever,
people who are
yeah.
driving or doing the dishes.
Okay. So love, it says NDEs are love, source, wowness, no religion. That might have been meant to be oneness. No religion describes God like that.
Oh,
Well,
oneness, yeah.
here's the thing. We've all been kind of poisoned and polluted by whatever was thrown at us in the way of describing what they believed God was, or the afterlife would be, or whatever. So in other words, none of us have really gotten a clear picture of what the afterlife is like. And there's honestly still a million unanswered questions, and I don't even want to go there yet, because I feel like, yeah, we've covered a lot of stuff.
Here's the answer to the question about Nico's mom. They definitely convinced her to get help with her addictions. She eventually beat them, but she passed from cancer 6 years ago. Sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
But it sounds like she learned.
She overcame that particular issue. So that's kind of like, because I've always believed, like, we're here to learn. And, I didn't realize that was totally consistent with this thing. It's like, but it's the fact is, we come here to learn, and we go through this earthly experience. It's not an easy experience. This is the tough part. The other side is easier.
Terry Rice said, I call it God, love, energy. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Workaholic. Marilyn, thank you for sharing your time with Duncan, as I am enjoying hearing from him. I did not expect that. No, he's my secret weapon. Everybody likes him best anyways.
No.
Kirsten, lives are the best. Yep. Very nice having Duncan here.
No, thank you. Yeah, I hope this has been it's a fun experience.
He's like, we're taking a chance here.
Yep. No, it's definitely a gamble.
Yeah. That's awesome. Um,
Hmm.
oh yeah, okay. Thank you for reading the comments. It really helps.
Hmm.
Yeah, I appreciate it when I'm listening to a live and they do it, and I have been corrected for it in a nice way. So
Hmm.
I try to remember. Yeah.
Hmm.
Love it. Love you both. You are so lovely. And so are you.
Yeah, love you too.
Love it.
Yeah. I'd love to actually have you on a stream sometime with us, because I know you got things to share too.
Duncan, I hope you come back. Yeah, it's been a while since you've been on a live with me.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I've been busy and away hiking and doing things and
Yeah, we should
digging
do.
into this NDE thing. So a lot of my time has gone into
Yeah, so he
researching,
hasn't
because
been
it's like,
talking to me about it because I'm just like, I don't want to hear it, Well, because you usually come outside like when I'm having, my morning coffee and stuff. And
yeah, you don't
I'm
have
not
time to
awake
dig
yet
into
enough
it.
to listen to that stuff.
Well, plus I
And
wanted to gather more information. Like I didn't want to come on here only having listened to 10 or 20 of these things. It's like I need to get the full enough scoop so I feel like I can talk about it. So I wanted more information, and listening to 60 or 70 of these, it's mind blowing. The consistency is extreme. There's different people experience things in different ways, and especially depending on the context of their past or their life, they'll interpret what they see differently. But on the other hand, most of it is just very, very consistent, which is a good thing.
want to read this one, honey?
Okay, so Lori Plays says, never know, Duncan. Look what happened when Claire started doing lives with Mark at Blown for Good. Now she's as present as him, if not more. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. What do you say? We're at the end of our comments, and it's been an hour and a half.
Yeah, 90 minutes. That's sort of what we agree is a reasonable
That's
limit
usually a
for
sweet
our.
spot.
Yeah, we run out of gas
It's
about
rare
then.
that I get all the way to 2 hours, and then I really got to go pee. So I drank a whole cup of coffee here. All right, everyone.
Great. Well, thanks so much for
great
showing
talking
up,
to you.
and hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna do morning musings. You're going hiking tomorrow, right? So
Yep.
I'll probably do a morning musings. And if you have any more comments, you can leave the comments in the description. And you want to take that one last one, Ani?
Yeah, we'll take one or two more just as we
Okay.
check out here.
Good.
Susan Paris. When my dad was in the hospital dying of cancer and I was with him at night, he would stare in the corner and smile and ask me if I could see his mom. He believed she was waiting for him. Yep. Totally consistent.
Really?
In fact, almost everybody that had ND experience and reported it would say their past relatives were there and people were there to greet them, and it's cool. It's very comforting to know they're not gone. Like even like my dad, I mean, that experience we briefly talked about, he was basically on his deathbed and he said he was ready to take his toys and go home. He's totally at peace. Yeah. And I said, Dad, what does that mean? And he says, my relationships and my experiences and memories. And I hadn't heard this before from in an NDE thing or anything. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what, I wrote that down. I made a note of it. I'm like, wow, that's really deep. Not knowing he was telling me the truth. And I wasn't, able to totally understand it. But I'm like, well, that sounds cool. And I believe that's exactly what happened. So I expect to see him again.
Well, yeah, till next time. We got everyone saying bye.
All right, folks, have a great day.
Yeah, this is great. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Bye.